Hello friends, welcome to a new video where we are going to do a trend analysis of geology optional in the civil services examination. This is our introduction. I am Jigyasu Agrawal. I'm going to appear in civil services examination 2020 interview with geology optional. Also, I'm a master's in applied geology from Indian School of Mines Dhanbad. I secured AIR1 in CSIR-NET Earth Science. We have another member who is Amit Kumar. He is an IS officer of 2019 batch. He was the geology topper in Civil Services Examination 2018. He is also holds a master's degree in applied geology from Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad. Now, coming to the morphology of geology optionals. So the students of geology must be familiar with the term morphology, which means structure or form. So here we are going to see the structure of geology optional in civil services examination. The examination consists of two papers. Paper 1, which holds subjects like general geology, geomorphology, remote sensing, structural geology, stratigraphy, paleontology, hydrogeology and engineering geology. Now general geology, when we talk about, consists of topics such as planetary geology, plate tectonics, geodynamics, etc. Geomorphology is the study of forms of the landscapes that are resultant from the processes that are going inside the surface of the earth as well as the processes that are taking place outside the surface of the earth. Coming to remote sensing, it is the science of using sensors which are mounted either on airplanes or satellites to detect information about the surface features of the earth. Next is structural geology. Structural geology deals with the geological structures that are present inside the surface, such as folds, faults, unconformities, and their significance. Coming to stratigraphy, as the name suggests it is the study of stratas, that is the layers of rocks that are present beneath our feet toward going down to the bottom of the crust. Next is paleontology. It is the beautiful science which deals with the study of fossils, that is, life in the past of the earth. Next is hydrogeology, which deals with the crucial resource of groundwater. We deal in this topic about the occurrence of groundwater, about the movement of groundwater, how to explore groundwater, and how to manage groundwater. Next is engineering geology, which deals with the engineering property of rocks, then the engineering properties of different structures, and the geological investigations which need to be done before constructing structures such as dams, bridges, etc. Coming to paper 2 consists of topic of mineralogy. Now, mineralogy deals with the building blocks of rocks, that is minerals. Here we study about crystallography, then different minerals and their optical properties. Next is petrology. The subject of petrology deals with the study and of rocks and the processes which resulted in their formation as well as their transformation. Now we deal with three different rock types, as we know: igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks and sedimentary rocks. Next is comes the subject of geochemistry, where we utilize chemistry to understand the different processes and the different rock types. Next is the application part, whereby we study of economic geology, which includes economic deposits, how different deposits are formed, in what manner do they occur, and mining geology, which deals with how we can mine them out. Lastly, we have environmental geology, which deals with environmental aspects of geology such as disaster management and such as the environmental implication of different activities, etc. Now moving on, here we have a temporal analysis, that is an analysis of what has occurred in the past, and then we are going to predict what will occur in the future. So here I divide the past year papers of UPSC in terms of the geological time scale. So this I call the Precambrian of geology. The Precambrian of geology includes all those papers which have taken place before 2015. And this portion is the recent, which is of utmost importance. That is from 2016 onwards till 2020. These 5 years are going to help us determine the trend of what is going to occur in 2021 and 2022, which is our goal for scoring and getting passed in the civil services examination. Now, in geology, there is a principle which is known as uniformitarianism, which tells that present is the key to past. But an emerging thought in geology says that the past is key to the future and that history repeats itself. So the optional paper of geology seems to follow this trend. And we see a lot of questions getting repeated. We call such topics as the conventional topics. But as randomness is the norm of nature, so we also have a certain section in geology optional, as in every other optional, which is novel, which is application based, and which we call the non-conventional topics. Let's go a little more into the details. So the conventional topics, as we talked about, are those topics which are derived directly from the syllabus. Now, when I say directly, it implies that they come out from the keywords that are mentioned in the syllabus. For example, general geology mentions a keyword called plate tectonics. So we get direct questions out of that part. Also, they require basic knowledge and understanding. For example, if someone is a student of paleontology, he must be familiar with the modes of fossilization in which and the manner in which different fossils are formed. The third characteristic is that, and which is the most important, is that it is repetitive. Repetitive in the sense that UPSC has been asking questions from these conventional topics repeatedly, subsequently over years and years. For example, the question on different plate boundaries and their characteristics has been asked multiple times. So the good thing about this whole conventional topics is that these constitute approximately 80% of the paper. Now you have one good thing about geology optional is that you know the 80% of the paper already before going into the paper. So what this requires? This requires on the part of an aspirant memorization and reproduction. That is, you memorize the core concept and you reproduce them. But one thing is to be noted that you can only be able to memorize and reproduce if you understand. If you understand well. So we need to create an understanding of the topics and then memorize and then practice so that we can reproduce them in a better manner. Coming to the non-conventional topics, these are those topics which are not present directly in the syllabus, but rather which are derived from the syllabus. These require an advanced knowledge, and the basic knowledge is of little help here. For example, there is a topic in remote sensing known as digital image processing. Now, digital image processing is not directly mentioned in your syllabus, and it cannot be solved by basic knowledge of remote sensing. For this, you need a little more advanced knowledge. Moreover, UPSC has a knack of asking novel questions, questions which are of non-repetitive nature in this section. So what this section requires on your part? This requires analysis and application right during the paper so that you can bring out the best answers. But the good thing is that these questions constitute less than 20% marks of the paper. Next, we look at the yearly trend of paper 1. Now here the topic-wise trend tells us that structural geology, paleontology and stratigraphy, these hold the lion's share when it comes to marks in paper 1. But the recent years have seen an increase in trend of general geology. Also, one another thing which we can see here is that geomorphology in remote sensing and hydrogeology in engineering geology, there is kind of a trade-off. And when one of the topics is of higher marks, the other is kind of lower marks. But the general trend that we can predict from this data is that we need to prepare each section well, although we need to lay particular emphasis on these three topics. Now coming to the breakup of conventional and non-conventional marks, what we see here through different years in paper 1 of optional geology is that the conventional questions form on an average more than 85% of the syllabus. So we can see in 2019 and 20 that the portion of non-conventional questions was constant to 62.5 marks. But this section increased in 2017 to 90 marks. This implies that we need to prepare for all eventualities. Now, here is a trend of the conventional questions that have been asked in the previous years. From what we can decipher is that structural geology, paleontology, and stratigraphy, which form the major portion of paper 1 when it comes to marks, the questions are of conventional nature and are repetitive. On the other hand, sections such as remote sensing, sections such as geomorphology, we will find that the questions are not of so conventional nature, and there are questions which are new, which are novel, and which require some application of mind. Now I'm going to let you know what we are going to offer. So pardon me the liberty of providing here an image from one of my favorite epics, that is Mahabharata. So our goal, you are this person, Arjuna, and our goal is to score 300 plus. That is a good score in optional, which will secure you a good rank. Now, when I say this, keep this in mind that optional subject is the key to your selection. And yes, the marks in your optional subject determines whether you are going to appear in that list or not. So a good score is 300 plus in general, but in some years there may be a butchering of marks across the optionals. In that case also you need to score a good score of at least 270, 280 plus. Now what we are going to do here is that we are professional geologists who have got a first-hand experience of the examination. We both have cleared this examination, and thus we understand what is needed from the part of the aspirant to get a good score in this examination. That's what we are that's where we are going to come into the picture, where we are going to provide you with the key inputs, the material, the knowledge, as well as the practice to get this particular score. But remember that guidance is one part which has to be supplemented by your sincere efforts, and then only we can achieve wonders. Now, coming to the details of the course, Mr. Amit Kumar has provided recorded lectures which cover the static part of the syllabus completely. He has explained all the core concepts, and he has provided the concrete base on which the preparation for the optional has to be based. For example, there are topics like in structural geology, rock cleavage and its types, genetic classification of folds based on dip isogons, types of unconformities. These are all conventional topics. These are all conventional topics which have been covered very well in the recorded lectures provided by Mr. Amit Kumar. Now, coming to the live lectures, which will be taken by me, what we are going to do here is that we are going to deal with two parts, two important parts. The first important part is coverage of the most important topics, including the previous year question papers. Yes, we are going to discuss the last 5-year question papers and all the important topics, whether they are of conventional nature or non-conventional nature, in detail. We are going to see how we are going to write a good answer, what will make your answer better, what will make your answer stand apart from that of other candidates. Secondly, in this same course, what we are going to do is a value addition, considering the evolving needs of the examination. For example, we just saw that in remote sensing, UPSC is digging deeper. It is going into subjects like digital image processing, recent mission of ISRO, spectral reflectance curves, and much more. So we are going to do that value addition across subjects, right? Here is a model answer of what an answer which will fetch you good marks must look like. So the question which has been asked previously in the UPSC examination is about mid-oceanic ridges. That what are mid-oceanic ridges, what are their types, and we need to describe their major characteristics. Now, see, a good answer starts with a good introduction. So a good introduction defines mid-oceanic ridges and uses all the important keywords. So see, the aspirant is provided here that it is a constructive plate margin, that seafloor spreading is taking place, that it is zone of mantle upwelling, right? So these are the important keywords that need to be mentioned in your introduction and throughout your answer. Second part of the answer, of a good answer, is the diagram. Now the diagram must be clear. I'm not saying that it must be artistic, but it must be provided in a clear manner and it must be labeled clearly. Yes, it must be labeled very clearly. so that you provide all the important information, the key information in the diagram itself. Third part of a good answer is good presentation. Now, good presentation deals with providing information in a clear and brief manner, which is pleasing to the eye of the examiner, as well as contains accurate information. So here, see, the candidate has provided the types of ridges in the form of a beautiful table. Now, when an examiner goes through a table, it is easy for him to read through the information and to see what the student has given. So this will definitely fetch you good marks. Now, the last part of a good answer is the details. Yes, the details. The details will differentiate your answer from those of other candidates. That is, here the examiner is going to understand that you are a good student of geology who has gone through all the concepts properly. So here, for example, when I mentioned the characteristics of mid-oceanic ridges, you must mention terms like equations for heat flow, equations for depth and age relationship. You must mention gravity anomaly and include Booger anomaly and free air anomaly in the answer. Such details will make your answer the better answer. It will make your answer stand out. So yes, that is all for today. If you have any queries regarding our course on geology optional for civil services examination as well as the Indian Forest Service examination, or else if you have any query in general with respect to geology or this examination, you can contact us at this number. You can call, you can WhatsApp, or you can Telegram. Thank you.